Well, hi and howdy, folks. Welcome back to Dave Diggs History. I'm your host, Dave Diggs, of course. It's good to see everybody again. If you're new here, if this is your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you. And I hope to earn a like and a subscription sometime along the way, if I earn it. Let me talk to you a little bit about historians and interpreters, other people who practice this particular craft. Some folks that do this, they're over the board, really. Some take on history as a great expanse of importance up here at this level. And when they do that, they talk about field marshals and generals and admirals and presidents and dukes, kings and queens. These people are making the history. Others, not quite so much. I like history like that, history at this level, but I also like dealing with who has to make everything happen. The generals, the admirals, the potentates, and the poobahs, they're the ones who think up things that other people have to make happen. And it's those people, call them history grunts, if you will, that I'd like to talk about today. For instance, the schoolhouse, the teacher, the whole education thing, how does it work? We've already discussed some aspects of this in previous episodes. The parents, they're the ones who build the school with their own labor and money, if they have any. Their own time, their own talent, their own land. The state, the county, they're non-players in this. In the future, sometime or other, they will get involved, but now is not the future. Now is now. Well, what about the teacher? The teacher is the one who has to do the teaching. The parents, they don't tell me how to teach because they don't know. I don't tell them how to plant and how to farm and how to harvest because I don't know. It's not my job. My job is to educate the children. And there's a lot of factors that figure into this. School supplies. Are there any school supplies? And if so, what might they be? Dealing with the voluntary aspect of education. It's not mandatory. If your parents say you go, you go. And if they say no, you don't go. But getting back to the teacher, the one who has to do the teaching, it's very helpful to have a place to live. I shouldn't have to explain why. And some schools have an attached not apartment, can't call it that. It's a structure. It's an attachment to the school, and it's living quarters. Probably not much more than a bed, a water basin, simple things. But other places like this school, for instance, there's no attachment, there's no attic. When I was working at the schoolhouse for a living, the visitors would often ask, well, where does the teacher live? Is he up in the attic? And I pointed out, there's no stairs here, there's no ladder here, and the attic, there's no space or hole to get up there, and if you were to get up there, you couldn't stand up. It's not very tall. So no, the teacher does not live in schools like this. They live with the parents, the ones who send their children to school. It's part of the pay of the school teacher, in addition to hopefully some actual coin. And here's how that works. There's a contract between the teacher and the parentage. The contract might be an official piece of paper outlining what is expected of all the parties. I'm inclined to think, though, that it's more a friendly handshake agreement back when handshake agreements were honored and treasured. So part of my pay as a teacher comes from living with the parents on a rotating basis. Trust me, nobody wants to host me all the time. I would eat them out of house and home. But on a rotating basis, it works. It sort of spreads the Can't say wealth because there just isn't any. It spreads the hurt amongst as many families as possible to have to feed me. And if it says in the contract that I spend a week with this family, a week with that family, or 3 days, it doesn't matter. It's what the contract says, and it's open season. The parentage will do as they please as far as the contract is concerned, honoring my needs and other things. And I'll get to sample everyone's cooking. I'm looking forward to that. But there are some complications on occasion, and this is one of them. Mrs. Maxey, her 2 children, Levi and William, they're students here at my school. She is a widow. Now, as a widow, she's unmarried, of course, and as part of the contract, the parents have to host me in their house. I'm male, she's female, and by the rules of engagement, if you want to call it that, I can't spend any time in her cabin. It's not going to happen. Tongues would wag, and we know what happens after that. I'd rather not have the tongues wagging. But still, Mrs. Maxey does owe me for teaching her children. And if she happens to have the do-re-mi, then that's just fine. But room and board does not figure into this. However, there are other ways to be recompensated for my efforts. For instance, I own 1 shirt. This is it. This is the only shirt that I have. If I can somehow make known to her that I only have the 1 shirt and it's getting a little ripe, I can be reasonably assured that there will be another shirt coming to me before too long. I understand she has a stockpile of fabric and she can sew. Not everybody can sew. I certainly cannot sew. So I may be getting a shirt in the sometimes near future. And laundry. Laundry is part of the pay too. I don't have any way to clean my clothes. So in the case of Mrs. Maxey, I may very well be getting the shirt and laundry of my items. Of course, I have to have something to wear while my dirty things are being laundered. We'll work on that later. Now, as far as other things are concerned in the contract, there's a set amount of money that I get. I'm not working strictly for room and board. I also get some spending money my way. Problem is, under these circumstances at this time, 1850, there's not a lot of money around. And there's a reason for that. But that's going to have to wait for another day when we can get to that. There's a shortage of all things monetary, and there's a reason for that. And the reason goes back quite some ways to a previous president. But I don't want to give too much away. The contract that I'm working under specifies 2 cents per person per day, payable once a month. In the case of Mrs. Maxey, she has 2 children, as I've said, Levi and William. So if both of them show up, that's 4 cents. Tomorrow, they may not be here, in which case it's nothing. Levi may be here tomorrow, William won't, in this case it's just 2 cents. And it would be nice if everyone paid in a timely manner, but I really don't have that sort of expectation. This is not a wealthy area. Many of these farmers in Franklin County, in this part of Franklin County, they're largely subsistence farmers, and they're getting by. To some, my being here is a luxury, and some of them have to go the extra mile to afford it. It's just one of those things. Now, where does the teacher come from? Got to come from somewhere. I might be a local who doesn't particularly care for farming, so I'll do this instead. I might be somebody from far away who saw an advertisement in, let's say, a newspaper in Rocky Mount or Boone's Mill or even as far away as Lynchburg, the Lynchburg Gazette, for instance. I come down, there's a bit of an interview, hardly what you'd call formal, and they either like what I have to say or not. They must like what I've said to them because here I am, ready to go to business teaching their children, those who show up. You will remember from a previous video, attendance is voluntary, not on the part of the student, his or herself, but on the part of the parent. If the parent says you're going to school, you're going, and if not, you're not going. It's pretty much that simple. And before I wrap this whole thing up, I got to issue a bit of an apology to everybody out there listening. I've been away from the channel for a bit too long for my taste. I was not satisfied with the sound quality I was getting from my videos, so I waited until I could get a hold of some other equipment. The sound that I'd been depending on prior to this video was the microphone, the internal microphone for the computer upon which this video is being taped. I now have an external microphone, and with any kind of luck, the sound will improve. We'll find out. And in the meantime, that's it. Let me check the time. Oh yes. That's it for today. I don't want to be making long videos. That's for other people. So, until the next time that we get together, and thank you for coming today. I appreciate your being here. Do take care of yourselves. And until next time, I remain your most humble and obedient servant, Dave Diggs, coming to you from, as always, a long time ago. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.